Okay, we're taping.
Oh, really?
Today is Saturday, the 29th of March, 2003, and we're here with the former Gladys Gilbert, now known as Gigi, even more formally Gladys Post, and her daughter Amy, to talk about some family memories.
Mom, hi.
Hi, darling.
I wanted to ask you about the war years and what you were doing during that time, because we asked Dad about that last night.
Well, I was working. I was a single girl. And it was a very exciting time for us as single girls because lots and lots of boys had to come to New York to take off for Europe at that time. And lots of relatives told the boys to look me up. I was a pretty popular girl myself. But when they came, they got tickets to theater. I saw Oklahoma 3 times. I saw many other shows more than once because with different boys they would buy tickets and we'd go out to dinner. And in those days, going out to dinner was a very beautiful thing. We got dressed up, ladies wore long dresses, and we went to hotels where they had famous orchestras, bands that played music, and you danced while you ate. And during that time, what we would do is, I would come to Florida because my mother was here with my brother and sister. My sister was a sickly child, and she needed the warm weather, and I came on vacations. And when I came, New Year's was one particular time, and there were a lot of young men there, and we get dressed in long evening gowns and go to one hotel and dance and have one dinner course and then leave and go to another hotel and dance and take another dinner course. We were at 4 or 5 hotels during the course of the evening dancing to all the well-known orchestras that came down to the hotels in Florida to entertain the people. And then when I was home in New York, I was working and living a very exciting life because I was dating a lot of people, nobody in particular. I did become engaged at one point. It lasted about 8 months, and then I broke it off. And it was shortly after that that your dad or grandfather came back and he called me. He had gotten my number from somebody at the hotel in Paris while he was waiting for a boat to take him back, and this young man told him about me and gave him my business address. I was working and running an underwear firm at that time in the Empire State Building, and he called me and said he would like to meet me and buy me a drink. So we made a date for Friday afternoon, and he came up that Friday, and that was the war was already over, just signed the peace treaties. And he came to see me. He was dressed in a soldier's uniform. He was a captain and dressed in a gorgeous outfit. And I had said, we'll go downstairs because there was a Longchamps restaurant in the Empire State Building. And I thought we would have a drink. And he said, no, I'd rather take you someplace else that I know of. And so I said to my secretary, if I don't get back, you close up and take care of the final papers. I'll call you. And Irving and I took off, and we went to a small bar on Madison Avenue. I think it was 36th Street. I don't remember the name. And it had chip windows in the bar. It was a charming place. And we had a drink. And then he said, I would like to buy you dinner. And I said, I don't think I can make it because I have a date this evening. At this point, it was about 5 o'clock. And he said, what time is your date? I said, at 8. He said, well, let's go for dinner right now, and I'll get you home in time. So we went to dinner, and we went to a Longchamps restaurant on Broadway in, I forgot the date, it's 48th or 49th Street, I think. And we had a table for 2. And the waiter who took care of us kept saying, you're such a darling couple. When are you going to get married? And he brought us another fancy course. And we had a wonderful dinner. And And then he took me home. At that time, I was living in Manhattan with a friend of mine who had left her husband and still had the apartment they lived in. And I had lived in Manhattan Beach in a big apartment, but the owner's wife, after many years, became pregnant, and he wanted the apartment for his wife and his baby to come. But in this private house, which had been remodeled and made into it was a big house, 2 downstairs apartments, 6 rooms each, a second floor, which had been the bedrooms, but was made into a 5.5-room apartment with a porch. And then the third floor for the servants, it was a 3-bedroom apartment, a kitchen and 2 other rooms. One was a bedroom, one was a living room. So Nanny, my mother, moved up there, and it meant that she and I would have to share a bedroom when this friend of mine told me she was leaving her husband and wanted a roommate. And I worked in the Empire State Building, so it was a great idea for me. So I moved into her apartment. And that was the apartment that your grandfather took me to, where I was living. And as we walked in the door, the phone was ringing, and I answered it. And it was a young man that I had been dating who was stationed in Minnesota. He was an airplane pilot. And he was supposed to come in the weekend before, but the weather was so bad that he was grounded. So he called to say that he had a flight into New York, and he was going to pick me up. And I had this date at 8 o'clock. I said, "You can't." He said, "Get rid of him." It was somebody I didn't know well. Somebody who had called me for the first time because he was recommended to me. So the second date came. I spent 1 hour with him and said goodbye. And then this boy, whose name I can't remember, I think it was Dick, came from Minnesota, and we spent a good part of the evening and the night together. But we didn't sleep with the boys in those days. We dated, we kissed, but we didn't sleep. So that's one of the stories of my days as a single young woman.
Now, when you were living in Manhattan Beach during the war years, did you have a victory garden?
We had a victory garden before we sold our house, and I took care of it. Nanny was not interested. And when we moved into the house, they had, in the backyard, the man before had grown rhubarb. So I knew that I could grow things. And I did. And I grew strawberries behind the garage because that was supposed to be a perfect place. And then I had potatoes and onions and a couple of other things I don't remember. And I planted them in the backyard, and I took care of them during that time. And it was wonderful. I loved it.
And did you get some food out of it?
Yes, whatever we grew, we ate.
And when did that house get sold?
You know, I don't remember the year.
Okay, well, I have a picture. Go ahead.
On the whole, I'm more interested in hearing about your relationship with Irving and how that blossomed than about the war itself. But I'm curious about one thing in particular. December 7th, 1941 was a Sunday, the day Pearl Harbor was bombed. Where were you? What were you doing when you heard
I
that?
was in a restaurant with my mother, and it wasn't a Sunday, as I recall. It was a weekday because I'd finished working, and we went to a restaurant called the White Turkey on Madison Avenue.
It might have been Monday before you heard the news.
No, we heard the news while we were in the restaurant that the war had broken out. And Roosevelt, the president, had declared war. And this had to be during the week because I was with my mother and we were having dinner. So she would do that very often. She would come into New York from Manhattan Beach to do her do shopping, and then I would meet her and we would have dinner. So we were at the White Turkey that night. It was a very scary time. We had no idea what was going to actually develop, but the fact that there was war and my mother had lived through a war before that was very frightening.
Now, I have a picture here. It says Scaroon Manor.
Scaroon, it was called.
In
Scaroon
August
Manor.
1942.
Yes, I went there on my vacation. I was working, and I was there twice, 2 summers. It may have been the year that my friend Zelda had a boyfriend, and she and her boyfriend had registered for a 2-week vacation and gone up to Scarrow Manor, which was in the Adirondacks.
And it's a picture of you and Sidney Gaines.
That was one of the boys I dated while I was there,
Uh-huh.
and saw him a few times when I came home, but nothing ever developed.
And then I have another picture here from Totem Lodge
Lodge.
in August of '44 with you and Jean Marie. No, Jean Mayo?
I don't remember the name.
Jean or Jeannie?
Oh, the girl. I don't remember her last name. We went to Scarrow Manor, which was in Albany, and we went there for a week.
Okay.
And this is a picture of the two of us.
And
But we were not really good friends, and nothing
okay.
continued.
And who's this good-looking young man?
I don't remember.
Is it Conrad?
It could be Conrad. I think it probably is.
Okay. And this one?
Conrad married my sister. He became my brother-in-law. And this one was of Amy.
No. Violet? maybe?
Violet. Yes. This is Violet.
Okay.
And she and Conrad started to go together when they walked to school in the 8th grade and subsequently got married.
Now, I have this postcard. It says 1916. Can you tell me who the two people are?
My mother is one of them. My mother is here. And this is one of her sisters. And I don't remember whether it was Ida or Pauline.
Your mother is on the right.
On the right
as
side.
you look at the picture.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
She was considered a very beautiful girl.
Okay, this says 1926. Do you know who that is?
That's me on the right, and this is Violet. And this was at a hotel my parents used to take us to every summer for about 4 years or 5 years, and I don't remember the name.
Okay. And then, this looks like, this is Bertha, I believe.
Yes, this is Bertha,
1920.
when she was a young girl
In the Bloomers.
in the Bloomers. They got married. No, she was married. 1921, they were married in 1918.
Okay.
So she wasn't a single girl. She was already married. Must have been at one of the places we went on vacation.
Okay. And then I have one here that says June 11th, 1925, Manhattan Beach.
Yes, this is on the stoop of our house, which is 157 Amherst Street in Manhattan Beach, and that's Violet.
Tell me about the stoop.
That was the front entrance to the house.
Did you spend time?
And maybe this could be Roy. I don't remember, because how old do I look on here?
Well, let me see.
And I was 8 when Roy was born, and I was 5.5 when Violet was born. So I don't know whether I was 6 or 8 when this picture was taken.
Well, I'm pretty sure this is you. You're the older child.
What's the date on that? Is it?
July 11th, 1925.
Let me see. Violet was born, I was born in 1919. Violet was 5 years younger, 5.5 years younger, which would be 1924.
4.
24.
And this
okay.
was 26?
25.
25. Then that's Roger.
No, it's Violet.
Violet.
Violet and you.
Yeah.
And I have one here. It says July 11th, 1925, Manhattan Beach. I think that's...
That's the same
That-
stoop.
It's
Yeah.
the same stoop, but I guess this is Roy.
Did you play there?
Yeah, we used to play ball against the front stoop. You know, we threw balls and caught them.
I think that's Violet again.
Maybe Violet.
Because Roy wasn't born until 26.
And this is 25.
Yeah.
No, this is a baby. This isn't a 2.5-year-old
Okay.
or a 2-year-old. I don't even remember those pictures.
Okay, this is La Vella, or La Villa. I think it's Vella, September 1926.